Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MarquetteHoops.com basketball show with the historian John Dodds and our awesome producer Jason Ruck. I'm Tom Pippins, delighted to have you with us again. Well, we all know we were hoping Marquette, John, would be playing in the Final Four. It didn't happen, but what a season it was. And we couldn't do this show, of course, without Moonlight Graham, Modern Dental Benefits. Moonlight Graham, proud sponsor of the program. Craig Caston is our outstanding, most valuable player. Tony Smith, a great guest, and seemingly so appropriate to have him, the analyst on the radio with Homer, to cap out this particular season.
Sure, it was a very emotional ending, the loss at North Carolina State last weekend, and I want to get Tony Smith's perspective as a player and as a broadcaster. And he was there and saw it firsthand, so we wanted to get his words of wisdom.
Let's do it. Well, T, a Sweet 16 finish for the Golden Eagles, your alma mater, best season in 11 years. How do you feel about it? Did they leave something out there on the court, or was that about where they should have been given what they had this year under Shaka?
Pip, that's a tough one there. Obviously, as an athlete myself, you kind of always feel you left something out there unless you win it all. But I think the guys are going to feel like that. No doubt the staff is going to feel like that. Everybody's going to feel like they left something out there. As you say, because of the team they had put together, because of what they had on the floor, the possibilities of what could have been with that team. And now you're going to lose Oso and Tyler. That's going to be a big hole to fill, big two holes to fill for that team. But when you pull back and you look at it overall as a season, I mean, you got to be happy with the season. It was a successful season. Even you look at this, obviously what they did last year in the Big East was phenomenal by winning the regular season and the Big East tournament. I mean, duplicating that, especially with UConn in the mix, that was going to be a tough ask anyway. But I think they did a lot with the season, especially given the injuries. You had Sean Jones go down. You had Chase Ross go down at one point. Kolek went down at the end of the year. A lot of things could have derailed the season. Come out and get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. I got to look at it overall, and I think after we get further away from the end of the season, I think it'll be a definite positive season.
That's a great point, and as you know, all the national exposure you get when you play that deep, that was a decent dance. But you think of NC State, if they're an 11 seed, then I'm a billionaire, and as you know, that's not the case. But you miss 28 of 32, I believe, three-pointers, even if they play or make it half dozen or so. They're in the game, right? They got to within six as poorly as they shot, reminiscent of the home loss to Butler.
Yeah, that was a frustrating game. There's no doubt about that, especially having a game like that, a shooting game like that in the NCAA tournament is a really tough pill to swallow. And people say, why are they taking all the three-point shots? I mean, they were good looks. They were open. And you just, as a player, you're like, I'm not going to miss a shot I take, am I? And sometimes they just don't go in. There's a lid on the bucket for whatever reason. But you talk about NC State, I'll tell you guys, like I told Homer a few times before and during the broadcast, I said, erase the number before the name of these teams because it doesn't matter what they did and what they were ranked and what seed they have. It just matters what you do in that game for those 2.5 hours. That's all that matters. And if you're playing above your pay grade, so be it. You're better than an 11 seed. And NC State's been playing above their grade as an 11 seed. Now, I'm not going to say they should be 11 seed, but that's what they're listed as, an 11 seed. And they're playing better than that. That's just the bottom line. They're also catching some teams not having great days. They caught Marquette like that. They caught Duke on an off night. So, I mean, you have to have those type of things happen to you to make a good run sometimes in NCAA tournament.
Great point, JD, from a man who knows.
That's right. If you look at NC State, they lost their 4 final regular season games in the ACC. But what I really didn't know, because I didn't pay much attention to them during the year, I watched them win the 5 in a row at the ACC tournament. I didn't realize they were so old. They were pretty much all transfers coming in. They're all 22, 23, and playing five games in 5 days for a 22 or 23-year-old. That's a man. That's not an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old. I mean, those guys could do it. And I'm just wondering if they didn't look, if the committee ignored those final four regular season games, they somehow peaked in the tournament. That team was probably more of like a 5 or a 6 seed coming the way they were playing in the tournament.
Yeah, they were tough. We talked about that as well. Like, could they even repeat that performance, or could Marquette do what NC State had done in the ACC tournament? And I said it was going to be tough for anybody to do that. It would be tough for NC State to try to repeat that performance. But again, we've seen them, and as you said, they're a veteran kind of team, an older team. They have a lot of experience. With getting older comes more toughness and maturity, and it's allowing them to do what they've been doing. You can see guys are just making plays at the right time. They play great defense. They play some great defense against Marquette, not allowing Marquette to do really what they wanted to do, and that's why you saw some of the offensive struggles. It didn't account for the missed shots, but it was tough sledding on offense to get inside because that was a thing. Why isn't Marquette going inside? People were saying, and it's just not that easy. It's just not going to team's not just going to allow you to do what you want to do all the time. So you got to take your hat off to NC State, give them all the credit for being able to make winning plays. But as you said, Marquette had a chance to be in that ball game late, despite the way they played there, and that I think is the frustrating part. A couple of more shots go down, a couple of more free throws go down, and you're in that game. It's tough, but that's how fine of a line it is sometimes.
I thought the difference in that game was Diarra. Diarra gave him that 6'11" forward, and he could do two things. He could sag inside and mess with Marquette when they went into the lane, yet he could also fly out and close out on Joplin. Kind of got in his head. And the analogy was kind of how Omax Prosper used to get in the head of Hawkins from the sharpshooter from UConn last year, where he was 6'9" and very mobile, but Diarra, that guy has played unbelievably well the last, say, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think Diarra obviously he played a role, but Burns, who we didn't see explode offensively against Marquette, but we've seen him the next game against Duke have a good offensive night. Uh, he was very key as well, and I think the problem with him is you don't want to play him one on one because he is so crafty. He's got a huge body. You don't want the guys getting foul trouble trying to guard him, and so you come double him, but he's just so good out of the double team with his passing too. That's the other thing. So I think the both of the bigs of NC State very different in contrast, kind of like Marquette's two bigs, Oso and Ben Gold are very different. They play very different games. But those two guys that you're speaking about, Diarra and Burns Jr., they're a little more mature. They play different games and more maybe complementary games. And as you say, he was able to bother some shooters closing out with his size and length. And not that he's going to block the shot necessarily because it's hard to block a 3-point shot a lot of times. You just want to run at a guy and bother him and maybe think that he's got a chance to block it. And that's what he was able to do in that. And, obviously the Bourne kid, he just came up with every shot that he needed to come up with when he needed to come up with it. I mean, and they were not easy shots. I don't think he hit any easy shots. He hit all tough shots, and he hit them at key moments.
It was just heartbreaking. You listen to Oso in the locker room and, tears because they were so tight. And I wonder for you, and you've been such a big part of great teams, high school, college, at Marquette, and after an outstanding pro career. Was this group fun to be around? Obviously, their chemistry under Shaka and his staff was through the roof and benefited them in so many ways.
Yeah, I think it's always good to be a tight knit group. I think you play harder for each other. I think that's one of the things that Shaka talks about when he talks about relationships. He knows that if the guys really like each other, they really care for each other, they really want to see each other succeed, that they're going to play harder for each other. There's we all know the thing about running through a wall for a coach, right? And I think they feel that way about Shaka, but it's also that about your teammates. If you really love and care about your teammates and you have a great relationship with them, you're going to be on the floor. You're going to be battling for those guys. And I think you saw that with Marquette all year long. Those guys are really each other's success on the floor. And that allows you to play winning basketball. That allows you to have multiple efforts on defense. That allows you to be unselfish offensively. So it was it was definitely a good atmosphere to be around. Good to watch the guys interact and see how much they care for each other and how good the relationships were.
You said it at the top, and I just wonder, Marquette fans have to be saying the same thing. This was the opportunity. It was great where they ended up, but it could have been, as you point out, better. No Kolick, no Oso. What about the immediate future of Marquette? And do you ever see Shaka going into the portal? I mean, even Connecticut did that and got a key piece.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in this day and age, right, you can never just say never. I don't think that's their preference. They have a couple of young guys, some freshmen this year that got some playing time and some key moments because of the injuries I had talked about before. So, we'll see if Lowry and Trey Norman can, develop over the summer because that's what you have to do if you're going to go that route. You're going to bring in incoming freshmen. They're going to be young. Uh, they're going to be inexperienced, and they're going to have to get experience, and they're going to have to develop, and they're going to have to get some confidence in themselves. It's kind of like you're seeing Ben Gold develop a little bit. He's coming around. So if that's the way they're going to go, I believe in Shaka and his recruiting to bring guys in because he's done it already. But like you say, I don't think you can never say no to the portal or totally say, I'm not going to use the portal. You have to use whatever's at your disposal. If there's somebody out there who's a fit, who's in the portal, I think you go ahead and bring that person in because they're going to fit into your culture. But that's the thing you have to make sure. And I think that's why this staff, they kind of they have that relationship thing going and they want to build that from the beginning. But again, I don't know what the staff has in mind, but I think in this day and age, you got to at least use the portal a little bit. I think just to stay up, with the competition.
If you want to have a nightmare game the whole year, it's Butler because Marquette against a team with I think it was 11 transfers. I think 11 transfers for Butler through the portal, and Marquette shot 5 of 31 from three. And boy, did that ring a bell when we look at the North Carolina State game. It was a replay of the Butler game, unfortunately for Marquette. But Butler was kind of tough, older team. But talking about losing Sean Jones, that one really hurt the rotation and the defensive pressure.
Yeah, I think the loss of Sean Jones, what it really did is it's added more stress to Stevie Mitchell's body, is what it did, because he was the guy to come in defensively and dog the other team's guards and point guards, bringing the ball up the floor and really making those guys work. So the tag team of Stevie Mitchell and Sean Jones was really tough to handle. Both of those guys out there at the same time. And man, it was tough sledding for guards to get penetration. Obviously, we know penetration is what kills your defense. You let guys get in your paint, it's going to cause you some problems. And both guys would not allow the other team's guards to get into paint. So it was really helpful to Marquette's defense with those guys on the floor. The Chase Ross injury kind of maybe helped some of the freshmen get some time on the floor, some valuable time that should pay dividends on the stretch. And anytime you get an injury, that's what it is, right? It's an opportunity for somebody, but it's also tough, right? Because now you're not the same team, and you can say the same thing when Kolick got hurt. It's not the same offense. They're going to run the same motions, but the offense is not quite the same without Kolick out there.
Tony, you came out of Marquette, of course, after a brilliant career, and the pros are beckoning. What's going through the minds of both Tyler Kolick and Oso Ighodaro at this moment?
Yeah, I think that the game, the loss, it's such a sudden end, an immediate end to the season when you lose because obviously it's over right at that point. But and you never really expected it to be. You kind of, as a player, you're out there. Okay, there's another game, but now there is not another game, and now you have to move on. But it's an exciting time for these guys. There's no doubt about that. The draft is ahead, combine's ahead, all that stuff is ahead, and they have to be looking forward to that because that's their future. Their Marquette games for them to play. There's no workouts going on. They're going to be out there. They're going to go try to make a living professionally right now. So there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of things to do though. You got to get your ducks in order. You got to get people in place to help you out to move to this next chapter in your life. And I think they got to be excited about the future. We don't know what's going to happen or where they're going to go. I'm sure there's people around that are telling them what the word on the street is, but they certainly are going to get looks and opportunities to play professionally.
Oso obviously has grown so much, and that's the point our producer Jason Ruck made, because he did not have a good tournament, and he just seems limited at this stage with his shot, and but yet he has that speed and the court vision and brilliant passer and ball handler. Do you think Oso will continue to grow, and will he be able to have an NBA career that is lasting?
Yeah, I think so. I think the thing with Oso, I mean, when I look at Oso and you talk about his package, his game, I mean, you just look at a guy like Draymond Green, like what he's been able to do with Golden State. They literally have the same skill set. I
Hmm.
mean, they're great, phenomenal passers, leaders, uh, can defend, and obviously Oso's not as strong as Draymond is, but he's gotten much stronger. I mean, if you remember as a freshman, I mean, I didn't think he was ever gonna be able to lift anything, the skinny as he was, but he's definitely bulked up. He's got his body in shape. He's with ball handlers. He's athletic. He's very smart. He's a great passer. So he has that skill set. So there's definitely a role for him that he can play. And I'll tell you, talking to some of the guys, they said also can actually shoot it. He just doesn't for
Yeah.
whatever reason. Uh, and he said the shot looks pretty good. So that would be a huge asset for him to be able to just shoot, even if it's a mid-range elbow jump shot. I think that's going to pay huge dividends. But with this game right now, the way it is, I definitely think there's a role for him on some team.
Tony, I want to talk about Kolick from this. People have said, where in the world were these scouts with him, right? What happened that they missed out on this fella? I know sometimes guys do fit or slip through the cracks.
Yeah, Pip. Listen, I'll tell you guys. Like I told a parent once with AAU, the parent came to us and said, "Hey, you got a couple of guys on your team." He said, "But for whatever reason, you're not being able to develop this one guy." And I told the guy, "Listen," I said, "Go to any classroom in America. You're going to have 20 students in there. They're not going to all have the same grade, are they?
Hmm.
No, they have the same teacher. They're listening to the same lesson. That doesn't mean they're going to get the same." I said, people have different levels of obviously learning and picking up and recalling. There's different levels of all of that. So, late bloomers, we've heard that term before. Everybody's not going to develop at the same rate. So, whatever Kolick was coming out of high school, that's what he was. They saw his potential, or when it comes to recruiting, they saw a limit to his potential of what he could be, or what level he could play at, and that's who really recruited him. So, to do about that, as he got into the game, got into college, he started to improve on a different level. It happens all the time. We see it time and time again, where guys go to one level and they suddenly develop and they're better than people thought they were going to be. But I don't think that's a new phenomenon out there, Pip. I think that's just something that people just got to realize it happens, that, one guy's at a one level and who knows what the stimuli is, or what the reasoning is. But now all of a sudden he reaches a different level of maturity. His IQ grows for whatever reason, physical abilities, confidence. It could be a number of things, or it could be all of them, even that elevates their game. And now all of a sudden they're a much better player than expected.
I'm glad that we're talking about Cam Jones. Could you see him leaving, Tony? It would seem he needs one more year. But what's your perspective on this young man? Obviously, it'd be a big blow if he left as well.
Yeah, 100%. I can imagine, losing Kolick and also now all of a sudden Cam Jones is gone. It would be definitely a big blow and a big loss for the team. But and nowadays, Pip, you don't know what people are being told. That's the thing, right? Where can
Mm.
you go in the draft? Obviously, that's the key. You want to get drafted because of the position and the money that's going to give you. But I don't know what people are telling him about where he's going to go. To me, the eye development, yes, he could probably use another year in a system that he knows and understands. But obviously, the other thing is, I think we could have said the same thing about Omax. With it's something to be said to be about playing against better and better competition. As great as the Big East is, it's not the NBA, and throwing yourself in that fire, it's going to force you to either improve or you're going to be on the out. So that's the thing you have to battle with. That's the tug of war. Do I want to take a chance, right? And if I don't make it, then I'm out. Or do I want to stay and get developed, give myself an even better opportunity next year to come out? that's the decision for Cam Jones, and he's got to make that for himself.
What is the biggest difference, Tony, as you experienced it, from the college, the high level that you played at, to the pros? You were strong both physically and mentally. I'm sure that progressed as time went on. But what is it in that regard that Tyler and Oso will have to be most attuned to?
Yeah, I think the guys just got to realize they made the same switch when they came to college from high school, right? You're probably the best out there at your high school, the best in the area, at least one of the tops in the area that you played in. But now you come to a situation where you're got to start at the bottom again. Like you're a freshman, and there's juniors and seniors and sophomores on the team who have already played a year. They've been there. They're better than you. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're faster. They understand what's going on. They know what it takes to play at that level already. So you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel. You got to work your way up. The guys you just see that are ahead of the game are. I look at a freshman from UConn Castle, right? This guy does not play like a freshman,
Yeah.
and it's mostly attitude, right? It's not really the talent that he has; it's his attitude. He doesn't feel like, hey, I'm a freshman, I shouldn't be out here or I can't compete. He absolutely looks like his attitude is, I'm a great player. I should be out here, and I'm just going to play my game, the same game that you guys were attracted to in high school. So he doesn't look like a freshman out there, and I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself when you go to these camps and you go to the combines and you're playing. You got to have a little cockiness to you. You got to have a little swag to you, Pip. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to have a chip on your shoulder and want to show people that whatever they think you are, you're better than that, and you got to go out there and really prove that.
When you're talking about Cam Jones, I think on one hand, you got Omax Prosper. You didn't think he was going to leave, but he left because he impressed the scouts. But so that's on one hand. Then on the other hand, you have Vander Blue. Vander Blue, if he would have come back one more year, I think he could have really averaged 20 a game and maybe even been drafted. But then I think of Lazar Hayward, where Lazar Hayward could barely dunk his first year. And working with Todd Smith for 4 years, the Marquette trainer, he could broad jump and he could dunk. It was amazing. And I'm wondering with Cam Jones, if he could get more elevation to the hoop on drives and working with Todd Smith another year, because he does that kind of that lean in finger roll, but that gets blocked every now and then if he's playing against a good athletic player like, I say, a Tony Smith. If you would have guarded him, I think you would have blocked a lot of his shots. And I'm wondering if one more year with Todd Smith would do the trick.
Yeah, and you don't know how much athleticism a guy will gain through work like that in the gym, but I think he's got enough athleticism. I think he doesn't use it, right? He doesn't. It's not his game. It's kind of like when you think of Luca or you think of the Joker, right? Of course, they can dunk the ball. They have some athleticism, but their game is not based on athleticism. Cam Jones' game is not based on being able to jump. Say like a Chase Ross, right? Chase Ross would go to the hoop. He's getting the lane. He's learned that he can get in the lane, get on his launch pad, and he can hammer it on people. That's not Cam Jones' game. Cam Jones is more of a finesse game. He's gonna drive you, spin you, and get that little scoop shot on you, as you say, off the board. He's very good with it, with the left hand. But obviously, going to the next level, you're gonna have to have a variety of shots. Everybody, especially guards, you need a floater now in the league. That's just what it is. Obviously, he can shoot the ball, but you have to go back to something that you don't see in college a lot now. You don't see it in the pros a lot, but you see it more in the pros. Is still the mid-range game is still alive. You see a lot of guys go to it. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a master. Middleton from the Bucks. We see him in the mid-range. So the mid-range is still there, but it's not used a lot in college. But so he's gonna have to develop that and get confidence in that. There's just it's a different game. The NBA is a little bit of a different game.
Tony, we haven't seen it often. If it wasn't unprecedented, it might have happened one other time where a good Illinois team was outscored at one point 30-0 by Connecticut. Can anyone beat the Huskies this year? It appears as if they'll be the two-time defending champs for the first time, in 2 decades or so. Alabama, UConn, I don't know. It almost seems as if it's UConn's to win, although I am intrigued by NC State and Purdue and would like to get your thoughts on both games, please, and the eventual champion.
Yeah, it's 100% going to be tough. UConn, the way they're running right now, obviously having done it last year with guys still on that team, they understand already what it takes. You see how they're operating this year as if they're on a mission to repeat. But again, I talked about the difficulty of guarding their offense. It's very tough because there's so much movement on both sides of the floor, strong and weak side. And then you have shooters to complement and take advantage of any mistake that you make defensively. That's what running their offense does. They just keep up the motion, keep up the action until somebody makes a mistake defensively that allows for an open shot. And again, they have shooters who can take advantage when those open shots occur and appear. And it doesn't hurt that they have a big guy clinging in the middle who can also clean up some mistakes and take care of some missed shots. And if all goes wrong, you just throw it up to the rim to him and see what happens. Now, what I really want to see is the matchup. I think everybody wants to see is Klingon and Edey in the finals to going against each other. I think that is what people really want to see now, because I think people look at it as, oh, these guys have a huge advantage. They're so big. Well, what happens when they're facing each other? There is no advantage. Now it's big versus big. That's what people really want to see. And I think a lot of scouts want to see that too. How can these guys play against guys their own size? And can they be effective that way? So that's what I'm predicting in the finals. And I got to say still UConn has a more complete team than Purdue, although I love the guard Smith from Purdue. He's great, but UConn just has so much on their offense. Newton, the freshman Castle, Spencer, the shooter. I mean, they just have a ton out there, offensive options. I mean, Spencer didn't even have a good game against us, and they still won. So, I mean, they're absolutely loaded and definitely the favorites to win it all again.
Well, John, we've said it before, we'll say it again. Tony Smith is a treasure, and for him to take time away when he's getting a well-deserved break is pretty awesome. Just full of gratitude for him.
Yeah, we love our guard Smith too, and we watched him play, and we love listening to it with the homer.
This show is always better, Tony Smith, with you on it. Thank you for being so gracious, and we look forward to the next time. Have a great time, and hopefully see you soon.
All right, guys, I appreciate you having me.
Our thanks to Tony Smith, as always, along with our sponsor on the MarquetteHoops.com basketball show, Moonlight Graham, Modern Dental Benefits. Craig Caston, thank you so very much all season long and beyond. John Dodds, you have an outstanding website.
Well, thanks, Pip. It's MarquetteHoops.com. If you want to see old archives of our TV shows, just go to the front page, go down the left-hand margin, just click on that. You can get them from the last 3 years. And if you want to be put on our mailing list, free email, just drop your email in the widget. You might have to do it twice.
Well, as long as Shaka's hanging around, I think the future will be bright for the Marquette Golden Eagles. That's it, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Go Golden Eagles, and God bless. We'll see you next time.